Church, it's always amazing that as a church breaks through, what breaks through for you as an individual. And I really believe that there is a favor of God, not only for us as a church, but for you as an individual. And that right now we are in a season of that. And so again, I'd love for you to give your a round of applause to Pastor John as he comes and brings the Word of God to us this morning. Thank you.
Thanks. So good to be with your pastors. Brian and Sharon are just fabulous leaders, fabulous pastors, fabulous lovers of Jesus. And having worked with them over the last 5 years or so, just gotten to know them better and just hear their heart for the Lord, but also for you and for your city. And it is a huge honour for me to be your first guest speaker in your brand new building. I love churches buying land, buying property, building buildings, renovating buildings. It sends a message that, hey, the Lord is with us. Look at his provision, but also sends a message to our community that we're here to stay. And we've put our roots down, as it were, and we're part of the community and we're here to do some really good things. So congratulations, I must say, to Brian and Sharon, to your board, to your staff, to your leaders, to all the volunteers, the entire congregation. Congratulations to you for what you've done. It is fabulous. And give yourselves a round of applause. Why not? I love the lights. You drive past here at night and see all the stained glass window lights. They're just phenomenal. And it's just the feel. It's kind of great to be in an old church worshiping, but the feel of what you've done to it and the various rooms around the property and the view and everything. I just love it. I can't stay. I have to go home to Perth, fly out tonight. But do love coming to be with you. I want to preach this morning about how to maximize a new era. Because you have gone into another era in your church. The first 14 years you met in various locations, but now you've bought property. You've gone into a different realm when you've decided to put your name onto a title deed and say, we as a church have stepped into a new zone. It's a new zone of faith. It's a new zone of courage. It's a new zone of resourcing. And it sets you up for the future. To be honest with you, what you've done now has really set you up for the next 10, 20, 30 years as a church, and then for the next generations as well. I reckon the people who bought this original piece of land for the church would never have in their wildest dreams that think, 100 plus years later, here in the 21st century, as a church has bought the property again and is serving the community and bringing the gospel through this. So I want to take you into a book that I love, that really is a great book on helping you possess your tomorrow, helping you maximize the era that you're stepping into, and give you a few thoughts on how to really get the best out of this era that you're in. So in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, reading from the very first verse. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people, get ready to cross the river Jordan into the land I'm about to give to them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you, nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. After the death of Moses, Joshua becomes the leader of the children of Israel, of the nation of Israel, and he begins to seek the Lord on what they should do. They've been wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, the generation, that had not taken the promised land and possessed it had now died off. Joshua and Caleb were left, only those left from that previous generation, and the 2 million people, at least 2 million, some scholars think it's as high as 3 million people. The nation of Israel is now on the verge of going into the promised land, and Joshua, good on him, seeks the Lord, and the Lord speaks to him, and it's a fascinating thing sometimes when God speaks. The very first thing that God speaks in verse 2 is, "Moses, my servant, is dead." I think if Joshua was an Aussie, he would have said, "Duh." Like really, like we've just had 30 days of mourning because the bloke died and he'd led us for 40 years. I think we're aware of this, Lord. I think you're stating the obvious. Why would God say, "Moses, my servant, is dead"? I think before you can possess your tomorrow, before you can maximize a new era, you need to position yesterday right. You need to get yesterday in the right place in your heart and mind before you can possess all that God has for your tomorrow, because yesterday can drag you back to a bad place. Yesterday can anchor you in attitudes and dispositions and demeanors that do not allow you to be free to step into your tomorrow. And I love how God talks about Moses. He doesn't say, "Moses, the guy that disobeyed me and hit the rock when he should have spoken to it and therefore is not going into the promised land, is dead." He didn't say Moses, the hero, the champion of the nation, that split the Red Sea and kind of brought all the plagues upon Egypt, the guy that is just the most remarkable guy in the Old Testament, he's dead. He doesn't kind of put Moses down. He doesn't kind of put him up here on a pedestal. He says, "Moses, my servant." Moses followed me. Moses did what I wanted him to do. But it's finished, Joshua. And I think moments like this, we've had moments like this in our church. I remember the first Sunday in our building. It was the last Sunday in July, 1999. Sorry, the first Sunday in our building. I remember the last Sunday in our previous building. It was about 6 or 7 weeks before. We wandered in the wilderness for 6 or 7 weeks between buildings. Another story for another day. And I remember the last Sunday in our old building, and that sense of history has been made here, and it's come to an end, and it was like we're able to draw a line and say, whatever has happened has happened. Jesus, we commit it to you. We don't want to deify yesterday. We don't want to put it on a pedestal that, the good old days. I'm old enough to know now that the good old days are not all that good sometimes. Sometimes the good old days weren't great. You don't want to devalue yesterday and kind of put it down. Yesterday was rubbish. It's all about now and the new generation and everybody coming through. You don't want to do that with yesterday. You just want to get a position. "Moses, my servant, is dead." And to let things go. Can I even say to you that during a building programs are quite boisterous. Churches tend to bustle through them. They tend to move through them, and there's a sense of energy and movement, and there's excitement. Also, your toes get trod on occasionally. Someone seems to bump you out of the way, and they just seem to be a bit over-vigorous. And you may have had in the last few months of, finishing in the old building, coming to this building, doing various things and raising money and giving time. You may have had your toes trodden on a little bit in the last little while. Can I just say, "Moses, my servant, is dead"? Let it go. Let it go. If someone has ticked you off this year through some aspect of the building program, they didn't do the paint thing exactly the way you want. They didn't put the door where it was meant to exactly be. They didn't hang the lights, and why is it so cold? Let it go. Let it go. It really, it does matter, but honestly, probably doesn't. Because tomorrow has so much in it. Your future as a church has so much in it. Moses, my servant, is dead. Joshua, before we can talk about what you're going to do next, settle in your heart that Moses is gone. Pastor's gone. And whatever disappointments or whatever boisterous things have happened to you, step into your future. Then I love what the Lord says next to Joshua. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the river Jordan into the land I am about to give to them, the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot. I love that phrase. I'll give you every place where you set your foot. He says, be strong, be courageous. And that phrase, be strong, be courageous, it's repeated 3 times. So you can tell Joshua is scared. Joshua's got some levels of terror in his heart because we'll get into it in chapter 3 in a little bit. There's a flooded river they've got to cross. They've got enemies across there. He's got 2-3 million people that he's got to work out. God says, I don't want you tippy-toeing into tomorrow. I want you to set your foot on that land. I want you to be bold and strong and courageous. I remember as a young guy, born and bred Perthian, I'd go down to the beach in Scarborough Beach. How many of you have been to Scarborough Beach in Western Australia? It's our kind of, it's our worst beach to swim in if you don't know what you're doing. It's got big dumping waves. It's got a channel that's quite dangerous. And we have the occasional tourists not do well down there with this channel rips along, and then there's a sandbar, and then there's big dumping waves. They're not nice breaking left and right waves. They're big dumping waves. But it's the sort of beach you love to go there down as a young guy, as a teenager. And I remember going down to Scarborough. It's changed now. It's different. They've kind of changed it all around. But they got rid of all the sand dunes at one stage. You'd have almost 100 metres of white sand from the car park to the beach. I remember as a young guy, you'd go down there as 15, 16, you'd be kind of going, man, I'm down to Scabs. Going down to Scabs. I'm at Scarborough. Going down to Scabs, mate. We're going down to Scabs. We're going to smash it up down there, young guys. And you head down to the beach. You got your boardies on, your T-shirt. You didn't take a towel. Towels are for sooks. You get down there. You're going to take this thing on. And some days the sea breeze would be just roaring in and be pounding waves. You get down there and you get a few 130 metres or so off the water, and you just look around at everybody and you rip your T-shirt off. I don't need a T-shirt. You get down to the water's edge and you just make sure there's a couple of young ladies looking. You look out at the ocean and say, watch out, baby, here I come. And you just get a good run up and you bang, 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 you run into the water, you pound through the water, and you into the channel, you dive into it, and you're swimming, big breath, swimming, and you hit the sandbar, and you're up on the sandbar. Just make sure the young ladies are still watching, yeah. And you hit the waves. I remember those days. 30 years passes. You don't go to Scabs anymore. It's a nice family beach, Sorrento. It's a little calmer, and you head down there with the kids. You've got your boardies, you've got a T-shirt, you've got your sunscreen, you've got a hat, you've got 3 towels. And you walk down there, you put everything out, and the kids are all set up and everything, and you walk down towards the water and you go, is it possible to go into the water with my T-shirt on? Is there anybody here from my church? No, I can't see anybody. Oh, I'll take the T-shirt off. You breathe in deep. You get the T-shirt off and you put it down, you fold it nicely and neatly, and you go towards the water and you oh, gee, good grief. Forgot about the cold currents. And you kind of get into the water and you, and deeper you get, you go, and you lower yourself into, this is nice, isn't it, kids? Don't tippy-toe into your tomorrow. Put your foot down. God has an inheritance for you in this season. God has a word for you in this season. God has promises for you in this season. God had things He wants you to possess in this season. It's fascinating. Through the book of Joshua, there are 2 words often go together. The Lord says, I will give you this land which you will possess. And the word give is often connected to the word possess. And the Lord says, I will give you an inheritance. I will give you a promise. I will give you a portion. However, You will not get it by just tippy-toeing into the water. Oh, it's too cold. I'm not going in today. It's too hard. It's too difficult. Don't you dare do that. Put your foot down and possess the thing that God has for you in this season. He has unbelievable, brilliant things for you as a church. Because I think Pastor Brian was saying it, and we were kind of singing about it, but see, when a church does this, it's not just buying a property, it's not just getting a building, it's the Lord looking at you and saying, do you have faith? Do you have courage? Do you have the wisdom to do this? And you have responded resoundingly, yes, Lord. We're gutsy. We can give it a go. We know how to do it. We can make it work. We've got the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding to make this thing to come together. You know what the Lord does? He says, my goodness, I think you have proven to me what you're capable of, and I want to now take you to more. See, some churches get to this point and pull back. They tippy-toe up to it and go, too hard, too much, back up, back to what we know, safety, comfort. So possess what the Lord has got for you now. It is time to seek the Lord. It is time to sing that song that's kind of like a fervent 19-year-old song. Nothing else, Lord. I don't want anything else. We know it's kind of not true. I mean, seriously, I don't want my wife and my kids, and I don't want to fly home tonight. There are other things I want, but when you're 19 and a fervent manic believer, Lord, everything for you, I'll do anything for you. It doesn't hurt you, even at my age, to get a little bit of that into you and go, what? Yeah, John, just sing it. Nothing else, Lord. I just want you. You know, Lord, I want other stuff as well, but really, I'm really Jesus. And then you start to kind of feel it warm your heart. Lord, if I didn't have you, I really got nothing else anyway. Possess what the Lord has possessed you for. Over to chapter 3, verse 9. And Joshua said to the Israelites, come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God. This is how you will know that the living God is among you, and he will certainly drive out before you the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Jebusites. Verse 11. See, the ark of the covenant of the Lord and of all the earth will go into the Jordan ahead of you. Now then choose 12 men from the tribes of Israel, one from each tribe. And as soon as the priests who carry the ark of the Lord of all the earth, set foot in the Jordan, its waters flowing downstream will be cut off and stand in a heap. So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is in flood all during harvest. It's the springtime. There's snow melting in the mountains and the river is full and flooding. Yet as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away at a town called Adam in the vicinity of Zarethan, while the water flowing down to the Sea of Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, was completely cut off. So the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priests who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord stopped in the middle of the Jordan, stood on dry ground, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground. I remember once seeing the Blackwood River, which is a major river in our southwest down near the town of Augusta. I remember once seeing it in flood. We were running a youth camp down on a farmer's property down there and drove down Friday night. We heard the Blackwood River was flooding, was rising at a significant rate, and we knew we'd be safe parking, putting all the tents where we were and so on. We got down there Friday night. Saturday morning we got up. I'd never seen a flooded river, a river in flood before. And I always thought, being a pretty dumb young guy, I thought, why did people drown in flooded rivers? Surely you can just swim to the banks and grab something and hop out. Dumb. I remember going down that Saturday morning. We had, 80, 100 young people. I can't remember, piles of young people down there. And we all stand there gobsmacked looking at this flooded river. Blackwood's a big river. It's not just a little creek. It's a massive river. And I stood there and I could not believe the speed of the logs flying by. You ever seen a flooded river? It is a thing to behold. It is like, I stood there and went, oh my goodness. And all the young teenagers, they were like, wow, this is exciting. I said, stay back, man. This thing could kill you. You're not going to keep the kids back. And the farmer had an American guy, his wife. They had a beautiful double-story house not far up from the river bank. And you could see all the young people going, man, wouldn't it be awesome to see the house go down the river? No, that would not be awesome at all. That would be a shocking thing. They don't care. They're 14, 15. They're brain has not fully formed yet, and they're just, man, that'd be awesome, the house going, this is incredible. I was shocked. And that's why I'm shocked by this story, is that Joshua is able to get 4 men carrying the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. Now, the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord was a golden box. It was wooden. It had poles through it, and 4 guys kind of carried it on their shoulders, one there, and 2 at the back. I mean, gold is not light, folks. So these guys are carrying it, and I can kind of picture Joshua saying, who's on roster for carrying the ark this week? Oh, these 4 guys, Josiah, Joseph, here we go, come along, Jochebed, along you come, boys. Jeremiah, come up. Got a little job for you tomorrow morning. Josh, whatever you want, mate, we're with you. As you were with Moses, we're with you, buddy. No way. Said, grab the ark, come down the river, I'll show you what you're going to do tomorrow morning. They grabbed the ark, they walked down, there's the river, logs going by, trees, houses, flooded river going by. So, look, we've got a really good idea. The Lord's spoken to me. He's told me that you are to step into the flooded river. And when you step into the flooded river, the waters will part and you'll be able to stand on dry land. It'll be a brilliant miracle. All good for it? I think we'll just go check the roster again. I really feel that Jeremiah... To me, this is one of the most amazing miracles in the Bible. Not that the water stopped, but Joshua could talk 4 guys into stepping into a flooded river. You can imagine there's 2 million people lined up behind you on the morning. You're ready to carry the ark. You're not nervous. You just got a little twitch in your arm. Kids are hanging onto your leg. Daddy, Daddy, don't do it, don't do it. You're standing there going, Joshua, you sure you've heard from God? You sure you've heard from God? Boom. I'm feeling better now. How are you, Josiah? Yeah, feeling great. Standing out in the middle. I reckon after a while, they're standing out in the middle. 2 million people walking past. Come on by, folks. No problem at all. We've got this covered. The Lord is with us. You see, before you can maximize tomorrow, you'll always have a cross a flooded river. There'll always be a barrier. There'll always be something. Unless God intervenes, it won't happen. And can I say to you, you've crossed a flooded river. You have crossed a flooded river to get to this house. Because over the years, you've thought, man, can we get a property? Can we buy? Can we raise the money? I reckon 14 years ago when you started in your lounge room with you and the kids and anyone else you could beg to come, you ever thought, man, one day we could, buying a building, well, that's huge. Where are we going to get all that money from? How's it going to happen? What sort of building? I can imagine your elders and your board and your staff and different stakeholders have been here over the years have gone, that's just like a flooded river. The Lord has parted the waters for you. This is a day of miracles. You can look forward with expectancy to the provision of God because you can look back to the flooded river that God opened up for you to allow you to pass through into your future, into your land that He wants to have for you. And it's a principle of life that also you can learn in these experiences that when you face an impossible situation, sometimes the Lord will put the flooded river in front of you because He does not want you to inherit your future without Him stepping in and intervening. Some of you are facing some things right now that you think, man, if that doesn't move, then I'm not going to get where I need to go. There are a few of you sitting here this morning. You can relate to this as resonates with you. You need an intervention of God. Therefore, it's going to require of you a stepping up of faith. It's going to require a level of wisdom and a level of courage and faith that maybe you've never had before. I remember in our building process, it was a process and the whole deal was about $3 million. And I remember we got to a point where what we could borrow, what we could sell our previous building for, what we could raise could only get us to $2.5 million. We were $500,000 short. And if your budget is $3 million and you're $500,000 short, that's a big chunk of your project. We put it out to tender tenders came in. One of the largest building companies in Perth came in with a tender that was $450,000 less than what our quantity surveyor said it would cost. The biggest donor to our building project was the building company. Nearly $500,000. I was chatting to a guy a few years later who had joined our church. He said, I actually worked for Brown and Joy, the company that built this, when you put your tender in. And he said there was a 6-month season when we were just cutting prices everywhere just to keep work flowing. He said, your tender landed in Brown and Joy in that 6-month window. Huh. Flooded rivers are a gift from God to show you how great He is. And you've crossed one. Well done. Can you imagine the atmosphere as those 2 million people cross that water? Can you imagine the... There's probably about 25 guys saying that they were on the ark that day as they talked about, I was one of the guys carrying the ark. I wasn't rostered on, but I volunteered. As soon as I saw that flooded river mountain, I said, I'm your man, Joshua. You know, the buzz going around. Joshua could hear from God. Joshua's amazing. He said, man, if we step in the water, it would happen. Look at us. We're in the promised land now. Jericho's over the hill. Man, we can do anything. We can take anything. And then you come to my last story for this morning. Joshua chapter 5, verse 1. Now when all the Amorites, kings west of the Jordan, all the Canaanite kings along the coast heard how the Lord had dried up the Jordan before the Israelites until they crossed over, their hearts melted in fear. And they no longer had the courage to face the Israelites. Wow. God had set Israel, these 2-3 million people, up for an amazing victory. But Joshua does what I think is just so brilliant. He has the presence of mind to stop and not just, hey guys, over the hill to Jericho, let's go, we'll take the land now. He actually stops and goes and seeks the Lord. He doesn't just go with the momentum, he just doesn't go with the thrill, with the party atmos. He says, I want to hear from the Lord. The Lord's spoken to me. And when I hear from God, it works. In verse 2, at that time the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites again. So Joshua made flint knives, circumcised the Israelites at Gibeath Haraloth. And now, this is why he did so. All those who came out of Egypt, all men of military age, died in the wilderness after leaving Egypt. All the people that came out had been circumcised, but all the people born in the wilderness during the journey from Egypt had not been circumcised. I can imagine the atmosphere night after night as they gathered to sing songs and celebrate. Look what God has done. The river has been separated, and Joshua's seeking the Lord again. He's in the tabernacle. He's asking the Lord what to do next, and they're waiting to see what God is going to speak to them. Joshua comes out of the tent. The glory of God is on him. He says, folks, I got good news and I got bad news. Everyone goes, yeah. The good news is the Lord has spoken to me. Yeah, it's awesome. Last time the Lord spoke, rivers flooded. Man, we're in the promised land. Jericho's like, this is going to be phenomenal. All the men have to be circumcised. Yeah, what? You got 2 million. Let's make it 2 million. We'll go conservative. 2 million. 2 of the men are circumcised, Joshua and Caleb. This is man flu on a level. No, don't imagine, but can you imagine? I love the Bible. I'm not preaching my stuff. This is the Bible. Lord said, say to Joshua, make flint knives and circumcise. I can imagine Joshua would have hung around the tabernacle if I said, Lord, seriously, have you got another idea? Because I don't think the guys out there are really going to... See, for a Jew, circumcision was an outward sign that they were in covenantal relationship. And God said, you know, you had a miracle, fabulous. You're going to take a city, brilliant. But there's something more important than that. It's your covenantal relationship with me. Because I can give you a miracle. I can do miracles. I'm God. I can give you a city. fact, I'm going to give you a whole land. But I want you to remember why. And the why is your relationship with me is more important than any miracle. Your relationship with me is more important than taking a city. And I love the fact Pastor Brian's going to bring you into the Psalms in the next little while. Because you know what I think it's going to do? It's going to help you rest and gather your breath as a church. But I think it's just going to, again, warm your hearts towards Jesus. Because you've had a miracle. You've crossed a flooded river. You're sitting in a miracle. I mean, this land was a miracle when whoever bought it back whenever. This building is a miracle. Whoever raised the money to build this building 90 plus years ago. Wow. And here you are as a church now owning this property. You're sitting in a miracle. You've crossed the flooded river. There's a city to be taken. There's a city to be impacted and changed. But I love the fact God sometimes is deeply uninterested in momentum. Could not care less. Here's 2 million people ready to rip Jericho apart. And God says, you know what? I think we'll just lay you low for a week. I think you can just stop and remember me.
Thank you for joining us online today. We hope that you've enjoyed the experience we call C3.
We believe that the power of belonging has never been more important than it is right now in this current season that we find ourselves. And we would love to find a way to help you feel like that you belong, whether it's here online or even by joining us at our physical location here in Devonport. So if you'd like to know more about how you could do that, jump online and visit us at c3churchdevonport.com/online.
Or you could also just fill out online. There'll be a tab that says I'm new here with your details, and someone will be in touch with you in the next couple of days. Or you can check us out on Facebook and connect with us through there. Thanks so much for joining with us today.
Thank you. God bless you.